Hey everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of Game Explain's 2020 Year in Review. As you can see, we are near the end of this hellish year, and I'm afraid of what's going to happen. Here's hoping something turns that moon back around, because I'm very afraid of what's about to unfold. Anyways, before that moon crashes into the earth, we gotta get our final discussion out there, and we're picking up exactly where we left off at, being now in July of 2020, as we work our way to the end of the year. So, starting off, we had a Nintendo Treehouse Live event in which we had a full showcase of Paper Mario: The Origami King. I think they basically played through what was an early part of the game. I think the mountainous region, if I remember correctly. Showed a pretty big chunk of it in hindsight, or even seemingly at the time. But the big news came after, where they had been teasing a Way Forward reveal, a brand new game from Way Forward on Nintendo Switch, and it was, everyone. Actually, Joey, you want to tell us what it was exactly, how big the thing was?
Oh, man, it was the biggest game of 2020. It was Bakugan, Champions of Vestroia. What a freaking game. And I remember the night...
destroyed something.
Yeah, I remember the night before, and Nintendo said, there'll also be an announcement from Way Forward. And everyone went out of their minds saying, oh, what's it gonna be? Is it gonna be that 2D Metroid everyone was talking about? And then Nintendo had to come back and clarify, oh, it's a third party. And it's like, Nintendo, you should know by now that your fans are going to think of the wildest things. So you need to set expectations accordingly, man.
Yeah, not even that. For everything we had said about setting expectations in the previous discussion, yeah, this is Nintendo fumbling the ball completely. And even clarifying it to that degree still wasn't enough. I think they still oversold what this was. I just remember the chat reaction to this being Bakugan. Like, what? Like, people were very thrown by this whole thing. Yeah, so, Joe, you eventually ended up reviewing this for us. Wait, do we even have its release on here, on our schedule?
It's in November.
I
don't know.
Okay, well, we don't need to bring it up after this point again. One Bakugan's enough. But, yeah, I don't think this game... Joey, you didn't end up liking this game at all, as I recall.
We ended up giving it a new rating of strongly dislike. I was going to give it a hate it rating, but then we're thinking, it might be time to implement a new feature, because... I did think Hate It was kind of strong for it, because it's still a playable game. It's not a glitchy mess. It's not all these other things. It's just
it's not Cyberpunk. You're saying.
It's not Cyberpunk, exactly. I'd still enjoy Cyberpunk in its current state more than this game, though. But it's so boring. It's such a boring game. There's no reason to do anything. The mechanics are just dumbed down to the max. There's hardly any, like, whatever story's there, it's just not given a proper presentation. It's not even a good story. And the battle system is just so repetitive and bland. You're just running around, you're throwing power cells at your Bakugan, and then the game interrupts itself to, like, have the Bakugan do its attack. It's not fun.
To their credit, it is exactly what they showed off. They showed off the battles, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot more on top of it. So I go ahead.
I was gonna say, which is crazy, because I remember when they showed it in Treehouse Live, everyone was looking at it, it's like, no, this has to be like an early, like, alpha build or something. There's no way this is what the final game looks like.
Nope, that's the final game.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it really just speaks to this kind of like, the mismanaged expectations for this. Like, I mean, I'm not even quite sure why this was the game of all the games to be paired with Paper Mario as part of this Treehouse Live. The whole thing was very bizarre.
I know some people were saying they theorized this was paired with Paper Mario to make people have a better outlook on Paper Mario if they were doubtful beforehand. It's like, oh, if you think this looks like a bad game, hold on. But no, I feel that's a little mean. And I don't know if they would do that, but who knows.
So the interesting thing, getting back to Paper Mario now, because I think we've said enough about Bakugan. Poor Bakugan, almost. You almost have to feel bad for all the crap it got, which is probably
I feel bad for Way Forward.
More than, but yeah, Paper Mario is interesting because at this point I already had the game. I was already playing it for review, and it would come out just a week later after this this Treehouse Live. So yeah, when they were showing off the region, I'm like, oh yeah, they're just showing us like a good chunk of the game. But what was fun was that they showed off an aspect of the game I had already played, being the part where they were talking to someone who was selling you something, and you can haggle them down. But so I like to explore all the options possible, especially in Mario RPGs. You always get like this fun dialogue. And in the stream, they had haggled this guy down to like, I don't know, something like 10 coins or something ridiculously low, up from what may have been like 500 or something just really high. But me, I'm like, oh yeah, that seems high, but I'll offer to pay it because they're not gonna make me pay this. No, that jerk took my money. As I was watching this stream with my mouth just like agape. I'm like, really? I blew all my like probably thousands of coins on this stupid thing when I could just haggle them down to nothing. I was so upset. And I was actually able to tweet out. I think the preview embargo was up by this point, so I tweeted out my picture of what happened to me instead of what happened in the stream, and that was kind of fun. But yeah, that definitely cost me a pretty penny, a pretty thousand or something pennies. So, anyways, were you guys more or less hyped after that Treehouse Live, if you remember watching it?
I was waiting for the... Yeah, you're already excited. I was waiting for the what the way forward announcement was going to be. I didn't really pay much attention to the Paper Mario stuff.
And then was really bummed.
Yeah, so when I saw it was Bakugan, I'm like, okay, I'm turning this off.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
me for me the Paper Mario footage it left me pretty indifferent, or it didn't change my perspective much. Partially because they showed it was like it's one of the first levels in the game, and so
Right.
the visual style is pretty simplistic, and just that. I'm glad they didn't show a level later on that was maybe more unique and interesting because it kept that element of surprise. But what they chose to show in particular, besides a few scenarios that were fun and engaging, like the haggling, which was pretty fun to see, I guess it didn't really affect me a whole lot. But I was already coming into Origami King pretty positive, I think, pretty just excited to play it, whereas a lot of people were still more skeptical, so I won't speak for them. But
Fair enough. Well, a few days after the Treehouse Live, we had the reveal of the Lego NES. So this is following not too long after the whole Mario Lego thing. Now we have an NES version as well, in which this is actually more of a standard Lego set rather than Mario. You're building something to very specific specifications in order to make this, Lego version of NES. It came with a TV, which had this cool crank, which made it look like you're playing like a 2D version of Mario, or at least seeing it go by, which is a super clever thing. You had like a Lego version of an NES cartridge. I believe you could even plug into the NES. So, did anyone here? Oh, isn't it behind you, Chris? Or
it was. I moved it. But it was. This would have been perfect. No, it was sitting right there. Yeah.
You're dropping the ball, Chris.
I know. Dang it. But I promise I did build it. I do have it. And it took a good 2 days straight.
Jeez.
Because I'm not very good at Legos. But
48 hours straight. No sleep. No nothing.
Yeah, no, seriously.
If only you worked for us then, we could have you live stream the entire thing.
Yeah, see, it sounds like a Labo building stream. Jeez.
I know.
Yeah. No, the build, I don't know Legos very much, but the build is super dense. The entire thing, the inside of the console in particular, and the TV as well. So I'm looking at it right back there. It's a super dense build. It takes a lot of time, but it's very rewarding when you finish it. And I think sort of like we touched on with the Mario Lego sets in our last discussion, or in part 1, the level of interactivity is also a nice touch too, how you can crank the wheel and have it scroll through like a real Mario level. Like, I feel like however much more Nintendo does with Lego, there's always going to be some element of interactivity, because there's always going to have to be that thing that sets it apart from other Lego sets. And I think that's really fun. But what I do like about this one is that it is more like, I guess, a standard Lego set in that you build it and display it, and it's just kind of there, it's solidified. Unlike the Mario ones, which are more like building Mario levels that are more kind of wide open, less of like a thing that you display, I guess.
Do you have the Mario kit or Mario set as well?
Nope. Hoping to get it for Christmas, though.
Nice. Hopefully Santa brings it by. So.
Yeah.
A few days later, we had the official release of Paper Mario: The Origami King, which we've already talked about it a decent amount, but I think it's something that, at least those of us who have played it, I think we all at least enjoyed it on some level, but correct me if I'm wrong. And I think this again kind of came at a good time. Like so we've actually had now by this point like 3 meaty games from Nintendo. We had Animal Crossing. A couple months later, we had Xenoblade Definitive Edition, which is again a meaty RPG, and then people probably finishing up by this point. And hey, here you go, another pseudo JRPG.
Very pseudo.
Yeah, indeed. But it was a fairly lengthy adventure, not Xenoblade length or even Animal Crossing length, but this is still a meaty game by Nintendo standards. And I enjoyed it. I actually preferred Color Splash. I was a little maybe let down by what my expectations were, but I still had a good time overall. And it still had some of my favorite moments of the year, which we already talked about in our Game Awards. So some really strong portions of this game that stand out to me more than almost any other Paper Mario or Mario RPG even.
Yeah, it's definitely become one of my favorites in the series. If you look at the Paper Mario, it was 2 trilogies, the original trilogy and then the more paper trilogy that we've gotten since like 2012. This is my favorite of those 3. I really liked the complete adventure here, though it Color Splash was close. This definitely just beat it out.
Nice. Anyone else play it much, or?
I haven't. I want to, though. Even though I haven't really touched any other Paper Mario game. Well, I have touched them a lot, actually. It was Super Paper Mario. I played a lot of that. I've never beaten a Paper Mario game, is the thing. And I was an idiot who traded in my copy of the 1,000-Year Door when I was little. Yes, I just want to go back in time and say no. At the very least, keep it until the rent is you can't pay it.
That was your retirement package right there, and
all gone away, zipped. So I'd feel kind of dirty playing the Origami King to completion first, but I don't know. I'm not gonna find a copy of 1,000-Year Door anytime soon. So
well, I've got one here if you ever need to borrow it. So
very true. Yes.
All right. Let's move on to a Nintendo Direct Mini that happened just a few days later after Paper Mario. Nintendo seemingly wasting no time getting more announcements out there, but not necessarily
the first of the partner showcases.
That's right. So yes, this wasn't a proper Nintendo Direct Mini. It was a partner showcase. But interestingly, despite them clarifying that this was going to focus on, be primarily about third-party relations, there actually was a bit of a first-party announcement here because we had the news of there being 3 DLC packs coming to Cadence of Hyrule, which was totally unexpected. I think this was kind of out of nowhere. But in addition, we also had the announcement of Shimigami Tensei 3 Nocturne, is how you say it, HD remaster, along with Shimigami Tensei 5 coming to the Switch, which I know definitely appeal to a certain demographic. I'm not among them.
Well,
just totally familiar with this.
The big deal with the SMT5 is that was announced in the January 2017 Switch presentation.
Right.
Way back
forever ago.
Where it was teased and like, oh look, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming to the Switch.
Wasn't it like
nothing?
One of the first Switch games announced?
It was one of the first Switch games announced. That's why it was a big deal. And now to finally see it again was such a big deal for people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the only people who liked that partner direct were the SMT fans, and the SMT fans were all over Twitter saying, "If you didn't like this direct, how dare you?" And I'm like, "Not everyone's an SMT fan, guys."
But the thing is, like, that one is still not out though, right?
No, it's not coming out until next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but now we finally saw it. It wasn't a teaser saying it's in production.
That's pretty wild. I think actually, I think the one game that was announced, or maybe the one, there might be a few, but one of the key games announced before this though was Dragon Quest. Which,
that's right.
That was the very first game, I believe, and that also took a little while to come out. But it's good. We're finally getting those early promises delivered on now, seemingly. And hey, they're all going to beat Metroid Prime 4. So
in this partner direct here, like for me, I liked the Cadence of Hyrule DLC. It was very much like what Crypt of the Necrodancer got. Like one of them's just sort of remixes of music by some of the same people that did remixes on that game, including Chipsoul. So that part was neat. Although admittedly, I never played through the Skull Kid, I believe it was, sort of new quest. Although I did, I beat the original, but when I did try it for a Game & Watch, it was super tough. So
it is hard, yeah. I haven't been able to beat that one yet. I just haven't had the time to really sit back down to finish the Skull Kid journey as well. But I think it's called like Symphony of the Mask or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's tough, yeah. I really like the fact that it got DLC, and I really didn't expect it to. And when this happened, I thought like, oh yeah, here's our annual Zelda content. If we're just getting this, that's fine. I really thought that's what that was all we were going to get for it, and I was fine with that because Cadence of Hyrule ended up being one of my favorite titles of 2019. So
that's awesome. Yeah, well, that's always fun getting more content for a game that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I suck at rhythm games, so I kind of sat this one out, even though I'm a big Zelda fan. I know there is a mode where you can basically play, without the rhythm. I'm like, I'm
but that
not even
half
playing
the
the game.
purpose.
Yeah, it defeats the purpose of the game. It's like playing Ring Fit without doing any exercises. Like, why? All right. Real quick, I would say that this is another good example, though, of Nintendo being better with messaging after the Bakugan disaster,
Right.
where they were very clear about what a partner showcase is. And we've had a few of them now. And I think it was smart to be like, yeah, this isn't going to be first-party focused. It's a focus on third parties. And it was kind of fun, though, to get that small bit of first-party, news in there with the cadence of Hyrule. So, so partner showcases, as a result, maybe aren't all the most exciting thing, but at least we know where we're going into, when they happen.
Yeah. I think it was also a really big step up for the developers of Cadence of Hyrule to originally be revealed in an indie world. And now be one of the opening things to a direct mini partner showcase. Like they stepped up a bit. They got a nice little promotion there.
Yeah, I mean, pretty soon they'll be in a full Nintendo Direct, and they'll be the Triforce of Directs, if you will. So they'll have the whole thing covered. All right, let's move into August, and we start off with some bad news here because just a couple months after the announcement of the delay of Super Nintendo World in Japan. Super Nintendo World has now been delayed indefinitely in Orlando, again due to COVID, and this is because Super Nintendo World was moved from its original, never officially confirmed plans to be opened as part of the existing Universal Studios Orlando park. Instead, now going to be built as part of Universal's third park being built, being Epic Universe. And that hasn't even begun to be built yet, and these theme parks tend to take some time.
Yeah.
So still no release date even by this point, and presumably it'll begin development again, once we're out of this pandemic. But at the very least, this is going to cause a year-plus delay, which sucks. Like this just kind of sucks. Like if you're a theme park fan, if you're a Nintendo fan, you probably want to visit Super Nintendo World. Getting to Japan isn't the easiest thing in the world. Especially during the pandemic.
Not right now, luckily, at least, yeah.
Luckily, though, if you really do want to go... Sorry, wait, what did you say, Churus?
I said, yeah, especially not right now. It's not easy, no.
Yeah, no. Luckily, though, if you do live in the States, there is an alternative here. If you don't live if you live anywhere in the States, it is opening up in Hollywood. They are currently building it there. And it seems to be the same as the other versions. Minus, I think minus possibly the DK section, which will be going to Orlando. But that will be opening sooner, so there is hope for us. If you don't want to go to Japan...
They were building that a while ago, too.
They were,
in 2017.
Yeah. I think it was only recently where I think they finally officially confirmed it, but it's been obvious. If you follow theme park news, it's been obvious for a while that it is what it is. It's Super Nintendo World. Universal just loves holding off until the last possible moment to make announcements. Mm-hmm. I mean, because I think they have confirmed it's coming to Hollywood. I just don't think they've actually said that's what it is yet. I can't remember for sure. But for instance, as an example, they've had a roller coaster being built in Orlando for a while now. In the Jurassic Park section, people have known what it is, but they only officially confirmed it years after it began development. So they're very much opposite Disney in that sense. But anyways, yeah, that's where we're at with Super Nintendo World. So let's move on to August 5th, where we got another new Switch announcement, being Pikmin 3 Deluxe hitting on October 30th. So I think this is something a lot of people were suspecting. I think, again, there were rumors. I mean, obviously, because everyone was expecting pretty much entire Wii U catalog to hit the Switch at some point. And we're at the point now where we're running out of things to port over, though we'll have more to say about that in our 2021 discussion. But yeah, it was, if not a surprise, it was cool to see that Pikmin 3 finally getting a second life, or Pikmin 3 finally getting a second lease on life on a platform that people actually own. And we may have more to say about that when it came out. But does anyone remember being surprised by this or being happy about this?
I wasn't surprised at all, and I was also thinking, maybe I should get this. I never beat it on Wii U, and I still haven't gotten it on Switch yet. But I'm thinking I'll have to do that because I really just love the controls in Pikmin 3 Deluxe way more than I do on Wii U.
Yeah, I'm still making my way through the Pikmin games. I'm in the middle of Pikmin 2 now, but I know this will be how I experience Pikmin 3. Eventually when I get to that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in a pretty similar boat.
Mm-hmm. I gave up so much on Pikmin 1. Like halfway through, I'm just like, it's so bad.
Oh man, I started that I think 3 times. Yeah, I was like,
oh really? See,
just to try and do better to make up for my errors later on.
Same.
That's why I love it. That's why I loved it. That's also why I'm a huge Majora's Mask fan. It's like, it adds a very real sense of pressure, which I get why some people wouldn't like. But I love that there's no escape option. Like there's no plan B. Like if you screw up, that's it. You gotta start all the way over. And it lends a weight to everything that most games don't have. Besides, like again, Majora's Mask, which is apparently very much a real life concern now as well. But yeah, anyways, Pikmin 3 try to find the middle ground though, where there is this loose time limit based on how much fruit you found. So it was an interesting idea going around that. So you may want to be careful, Joey, since you gotta watch your fruit supply if you want to avoid that game over state. So
man, watch my fruit supply. I never thought I'd hear that sentence in my life.
Now there's always a first here at Game Explained.
It's true.
All right, let's move on to another event. Like, not to, or actually, no, wait, I'm sorry. Where the heck are we? Oh, we're in August now. Yeah, I'm already getting confused where we're at. We had an Indie World, so another Nintendo showcase of sorts, in which we had the announcement of Hades coming to Switch, A Short Hike coming to Switch, and an update for the Untitled Goose Game, which added multiplayer support, which is perfect for that game. Like, it's such like a fun kind of casual game that it seems like having a multiplayer mode that would only add more chaos, thus bettering it even more. I didn't get to try it out myself. Has anyone tried that update in particular? Or
I have not. No,
I have not had a chance to.
It's funny
I don't have a
because
friend to wreak havoc with.
yeah, it's funny. Like with this one, that was the big, huge surprise announcement of the Indie World. But in retrospect, like Hades and A Short Hike are the better announcements.
Yep.
But maybe I downplayed them because Hades had been out in early access on Epic.
Yep.
And A Short Hike, that came out already on PC. So that's why they weren't as exciting at the time. But, a good way to get people to play them. Like, in the end, I played Hades on Switch. So
Yeah,
Me
there you
too.
go.
Yeah. I would also like to point out that a lot of us had our drink one after the other. It's like yawning.
oh man.
Yeah, but I also am like Tom. I played Hades on the Switch. I had a friend who was like, "No, play it on PC. Trust me, it's the best." And I'm like, "No, I'm playing it on Switch. I don't care." But I must have played. I don't know. Maybe time really flies when you're playing that game. So I don't even know how long I played it. Maybe around 10 hours, 15 hours, maybe more. I don't know. But it's a really, really fantastic game. Like, I hate roguelikes a lot, but this is like, it's a roguelike for people who don't like roguelikes, if that makes sense.
Well, that's up my. I mean, that sounds like me. So maybe I'll have to give Hades a shot finally. So
yeah, because like the story ties to the feature of the game, and it's really cool how they design the story around just dying over and over again.
You kind of touched on the point though, Tom, of like the what's the word I'm looking for here? Not irony, counterintuitive. I don't know. It's the fact that the full weight of these indie worlds like often isn't revealed until in hindsight, because it's kind of hard to get excited for a game that you know nothing about, right?
Yeah.
It's like, Hades, yeah, that looks interesting, but it's a brand new game. A Short Hike looks cute, but it's a game you can only really appreciate after playing. And then Untitled Goose Game, the update, was probably the one thing that we concretely knew about. But looking back, it's like, wow, that was a strong indie world. Hades is blown up, taking over like much of the discourse for like Game of the Year, it seems. And then A Short Hike was like just a short delight. Like, that was just a fun game that really came at another like good time. Like, hey, I feel good about this in a time that kind of sucks. 2020 has been a rough year, but this game's just wonderful. So yeah, it's kind of cool to like look back and be like, oh yeah, that was actually a really good indie world. So
yeah, just get used to this. Every indie world that's announced, people are gonna go Silk Song. I want Silk Song.
We're not allowed to guess it anymore, even if it's coming. No, can't say it.
Yeah.
Our Discord is like, don't do it anymore, guys. I'm like, I
Every
know
time
someone
someone's
don't guess it, that happens.
Every time someone predicts Silk Song, it's another 5 years out.
Well, not too long after this, we had a Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase, our second one now, in which we had announcements such as Kingdom Hearts Melodies of Memories, which is basically a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game, so totally up my alley, obviously. Combining all the things I love, Kingdom Hearts and rhythm games. We also had the announcement of Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, among some other announcements that I don't fully recall. But yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts or Puyo Puyo and Tetris, like, this is not a bad one. Not, I know Puyo Puyo Tetris, the first one was a pretty kind of like a like it was pretty successful, as I recall. Like, it had a pretty big following, I think, and now here's a sequel. So yeah, it seemed like it probably was exciting for some people. For me, it didn't do a whole lot, but
yeah, I remember playing the Game and Watch preview, and then everyone made fun of my Tetris skills, so I'm like, nope.
You gotta play.
Not going to review this for you guys.
You gotta play more Tetris 99 to sharpen those Tetris skills. So.
I do have to do that though.
Oh, we haven't touched on all the Tetris 99 updates throughout the year, but not a whole lot to say about those, I suppose.
Man.
They should make a Puyo Puyo Tetris skin or Puyo Puyo skin for Tetris 99.
Exactly.
That'd be confusing.
Yeah, it would be.
I think this August partner showcase it was on the smaller side. I didn't dislike it. It didn't have anything that really stood out to me. But I will say, I'm not the Kingdom Hearts fan or anything like that. But getting Kingdom Hearts Melodies and Memories on Switch was a really big deal because that really marked the first Kingdom Hearts game to come to the Nintendo Switch, and it gave a lot of people hope. It really
for Sora and Smash. Yeah.
Yes. Well, for one thing, it gave a lot of people hope for Sora and Smash, but I think it gave a lot of people hope for the future of that series potentially coming to Switch, because I think Kingdom Hearts 3 was the first in the series to go to Xbox, so people are really been hoping the series becomes more accessible on Nintendo platforms.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not quite sure how well it ended up performing, but you never know.
Not sure,
I mean,
but
Kingdom Hearts does have like a history of like showing up on some Nintendo platforms at a time, so maybe it will continue. You never know. All right, let's move on to a smaller or bigger news piece, depending on how you look at it. Piece for the month, in which it was revealed that Nintendo was apparently Japan's richest company as of August 26th this year, which kind of remarkable, but also like with a year where Animal Crossing is just selling like hotcakes because of the pandemic, and the Switch is continuing to do extremely well as we. Well, are we in its fourth year now, or as we enter its fourth year? I think as we enter its fourth year, right? It's coming up. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
We're in the fourth year because it came out 2017.
Year,
So yeah.
So just it just checks out. Like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And it's kind of good as a fan of Nintendo to see them doing well after the Wii U debacle and to another extent, like the 3DS for a while there wasn't doing great either. It's like, well, Nintendo has these peaks and valleys where they go to the lowest of lows before they go to the highest of highs again, and they're soaring right now. So
yeah.
Let's hope it stays that way.
I'm worried for the valley. Like, what's the valley gonna be?
Yeah, what's next?
Let's get a crater. Dig underground for this next one. I don't know though. I will say, like, it does seem like Nintendo's like best efforts seem to come after they hit a low. So it's almost like I almost wonder, like, maybe we need, like, maybe it's like hitting reset. Maybe we need one of those at some point. I think they're doing okay for now, but we'll see. But yeah, it's just interesting to see Nintendo like be like, they look like a what are those heart monitors, like just like this, just over the course of its history. The Wii, and then to the Wii U, and now to the Switch. So we'll see. Anyways, moving into September, we had a big announcement on September 3rd, starting the month off right away with a Super Mario 35th Anniversary Direct. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this whole thing. We got the announcement of the Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers, which is it's an odd little thing, which is, I actually have it right here. It's the Game & Watch with Super Mario Brothers on it, and the Lost Levels, and also the original version of Ball, the original Game & Watch, only rebranded with Mario. The weird thing is, there was actually a Super Mario Brothers Game & Watch, which I also have around here somewhere, but it's not on here. I don't know why. Anyways, we also had the announcement of Super Mario 3D World being re-released, along with Bowser's Fury, a side mode being added to the game, which we still almost know nothing about, so we'll probably be discussing that more in our 2021 discussion. We had the announcement that Super Mario Bros. 35 was hitting the Nintendo Switch Online service on October 1st. Basically, the Mario version of Tetris 99, only with 35 players instead of 99. We had Mario Kart Live Home Circuit revealed, which is an awesome idea, combining an RC car with an augmented reality like interface or camera that you play on the Switch, turning this real-life toy into a virtual game where you're playing actual Mario Kart races. I still haven't tried it myself, but it seems super cool. They had various like merchandise shown off. And then they also had, what I think for me might have been the most exciting thing, the Super Mario 3D All-Stars announcement, hitting on September 18th, so later that month, which had Super Mario 64, Mario Sunshine being re-released for the first time ever, and Super Mario Galaxy all available on one package, upgraded in some ways, such as being in HD and 1080p. And yeah, I know this package disappointed a lot of people because it wasn't like it didn't live up to our lofty expectations of remaking Mario to 64, delivering everything at 60 frames per second. But at the end of the day, when that eventually hit, I'm like, you know what? I'm having a lot of fun with these games. And it actually made me end up liking Mario Sunshine, a game I infamously disliked up until now. But I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe times changed me, but I'm having fun with it. What, Tom?
Good.
Oh, it was Joey who said something, but
Oh, is it Joey said something?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, like that game.
I don't like that tone of voice, Joey.
what?
I don't think I like the game
Yeah.
anymore, Joey.
This Mario 35th Anniversary Direct was technically shadow dropped too. So to people that didn't have the sneaking suspicion in advance, this was
the news had gone out, but not officially. Right?
yes. This was big because there was a lot shown off in here. I mean, even when you compare it to some of the other smaller directs we've been getting, I mean, the 3D World port, Mario Kart Live, 3D All Stars, even just those three are really big.
Yeah.
And there was more than just those. I mean, I'm really excited for 3D World, but Mario 35 was a lot of fun. And I know, Andre, you basically still play that every week for every weekly event that goes on in that.
Yeah, most of the challenges I'm there, yeah.
And then I haven't had a chance to mess around with Mario Kart Live Home Circuit either, but I love the idea that they went for there, and I think that's really fun, actually. It looks really entertaining, and I think it's a great idea. And the fact that in the Direct they even showed all the different merchandise, like, it was clear that they were trying to really go for so much. Like, they really wanted to capture an anniversary with this, which is even more than they did in like past Mario anniversaries, in my opinion, with like what they tried to go for here. Because it's not even listed here, but I think they also re-released the original Super Mario All-Stars on the SNES Online. Like, they they really tried to bring back as much as they can and celebrate the Mario series. I think didn't this Direct end with like a 4-minute music video, like compilation of like all the games.
Yeah.
Like,
all except
they
a
really,
few for
Yeah,
some reason. Like
yeah.
Mario Land 2 wasn't on there or something like that. It was very strange. But
Oh,
yeah.
those sons of guns. How dare they?
I know. Mario Land 2 is great.
Mario Land
love
2
that.
is great.
Yeah, and too bad everything is going to go away on March 31st. Or is it after March 31st? I don't know, but I know.
Nintendo's
Like,
gonna
yeah,
come into
I
my
think it's
house
after.
and take my physical edition away.
yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. I bought it. Yeah, like it worked with the timing. I mean, we all kind of go like, don't do that. But at the same time, it does motivate people to buy it and
Yep.
try it out. With like 3D All Stars, I would say not having anything kind of remastered, it was a bit of a downer for something that could potentially be like a 10 or like a
Right.
mind blowing or loved. But you know, it's still great. It's still great to have Mario 64 on Switch, so it's super easy to play and looks really sharp and crisp.
Yes,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
not on widescreen.
Yeah, that's the only downside.
If only.
Yeah.
I know.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
playing
weird.
the 3D All Stars.
Go ahead, Chris.
Also, I mean, something about this too. We totally didn't mention this in part 1 because it was just a rumor for a while. But this was rumored in like April this year or something like that, maybe even earlier, right? A 3D Mario collection, and most of us thought it was too good to be true. I just let myself get excited for it from day one, even though I knew it was probably still too good to be true. But sure enough, it ended up happening too. And like for me personally, that was a huge part of this year, just thinking about that, wondering if that's actually going to happen. And it did, thank goodness. And so, yeah, this Direct was an absolute blast, honestly.
Yeah.
It was a lot
Yeah,
of
no,
fun.
I had a great time with it was a really fun Direct. It was, I liked, as a Mario fan, it was cool having that focus and in celebration of what is a bit of an odd anniversary. I didn't realize 35th was ever a big thing, but hey, I'll go with it, sure.
Yep.
And even if it,
In a way, it was kind of too good to be true because we were expecting remasters for all three of them,
true.
and we got like upscaled,
Yeah.
we got it upscaled, and that was about it. At least Mario Sunshine was in widescreen, but like no enhanced frame rates, no. They were in a sense pretty much straight up ports.
Sunshine
But-
and Galaxy look great, though, honestly,
Yes,
with the
they
upscale and
do.
with widescreen
Oh.
alone.
Galaxy looks like it could be a modern game practically.
Totally.
They could release that now and it would look great. I think the two most disappointing things are the package. It's so weird because the package, I mean, for relative to expectations, it's disappointing. They didn't do a whole lot here to upgrade the experiences, but they did offer these games in what's essentially the best form they've ever been. So if you're like more of a purist, like I can be at times, like this is the definitive way to officially play these games. And it is cool to have them all on one platform. Of course, there is one big omission here, and that is there's no Mario Galaxy 2. And it's like, why? Why isn't it here?
It's so weird.
Makes no sense.
I'm pretty sure, like, to me now, that would be my favorite of the bunch. I just love that game. And I don't know if they have other plans for it. I don't know if they're going to release it later. I mean, especially in a year where this was its 10th anniversary. So it's even odder that wasn't part of this.
They better be saving it. They better re-release it at some point.
The only thing I'd be concerned about, and I don't know if it factored in, is that the pointer controls aren't great on Switch. And that game definitely depended on them more than even Mario Galaxy 1, especially when they came to, like, riding Yoshi.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that could have been a factor. Like, it would still work. You have to recalibrate constantly, which is a little annoying. But I don't know if that's reason enough to pull it from the package entirely. If I had to guess, they're planning on reselling it later as its own thing, maybe. Or
that's
maybe
what I
an
think.
Expansion to this. So, yeah, we'll see if that ends up happening or not. But, yeah, otherwise... yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I actually surprisingly enjoyed Mario Sunshine, despite being extremely frustrating at times still. All right, let's move on to September 8th, where we had Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
Oh, boy.
This was its reveal, right?
Yep, this is when it was revealed.
Big week.
Just random trailer that morning. Just, here you go, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Excuse me? Like, that was
out of nowhere.
Huge.
That was a shock. That was a surprise. I did not see this coming. And as one who's not a Warriors fan, as I've since even reconfirmed by trying to replay this game, I'm like, that's neat. That's a cool idea. Taking the Warrior style of gameplay, letting it elaborate, seemingly, on the backstory brought to the wild in a way that kind of makes sense. It's like, yeah, this is an epic scale war, so it makes sense to have it be in a game style where you're fighting hordes of enemies at once.
Yeah. It was one of those games where I never saw them. I never thought they would make another Hyrule Warriors game, but upon seeing this, it was just that very sudden feeling of, oh, yeah, you know what? This makes perfect sense.
Yes.
And I'm really happy they did it, and I love the way they went about it. And I mean, even though this was when it was revealed, this game never left relevancy until after it released. Like, I didn't include it in our little breakdown here, but there was basically something Hyrule Warriors every single week. Not after this, but after Tokyo Game Show 2 weeks later. Every single week there was something about that game that came out. And they kept that going until release and even after release. So there was a lot. And I think part of why I have such good memories, and it's like I love this, I guess, hype cycle around Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was that was when I really started working here. Even at first freelancing for pretty much every piece of content Hyrule Warriors.
That's right.
And it played out pretty nicely, but I strongly tie that into like my start here basically. So it came together pretty nicely.
It did. Yeah, that was it was just kind of cool seeing Nintendo again, like, go outside their usual spectrum of games, and even if it's not quite my cup of tea or ended up being my cup of tea, it's still cool there, and that did act as their big fourth quarter game. Which we'll probably touch on more in a sec, or a few minutes. Next, we had if that wasn't enough for the month, we had a Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase. Just a little while later, in which he had even more game announcements, among them being Disgaea 6, Ori, was it the Will of the Wisp and Blind Forest?
Yes.
Okay. Coming to Switch. And then also, we had the Monster Hunter announcement, which was, there was actually a whole Monster Hunter Direct that came after the Nintendo Direct Mini. It was a little weird combo thing there. But we got Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Stories 2. I think Monster Hunter Rise is probably the bigger story there. Because this game actually looks pretty awesome. Like, I've never gotten to Monster Hunter, but I'm thinking this might possibly be it. But it looks like it might be taking some cues from Breath of the Wild, at least superficially, and infusing, of course, that with Monster Hunter. And it looks neat. And especially after, Monster Hunter World being a huge success on PS4, I think there could be like a hungry market, very much so on Switch for this game. I think this could be massive.
It uses the same engine, I think, too, as Monster Hunter World.
Yep.
So that's going to be awesome, and it gives me an excuse to, man. Monster Hunter is always a series like I wanted to get into, but there's something like always holding me back from like really getting into it. But right now, Monster Hunter Worlds, I got free with my PS5 with the PlayStation Plus collection, and
nice.
that game runs way, way better on on PS5. Like it's a constant 60 FPS the entire way. So I'm thinking I really want to play Monster Hunter on that before maybe jumping into Rise. But yeah, Rise looks really, really slick, and it looks like it's not running on the Switch. It looks like it's running on something else, something more powerful.
Yeah, it looks good. Well, if that wasn't enough, if that still wasn't enough game announcements.
Still wasn't enough.
We had, although I don't know this is quite follows in the same vein as the rest, but on September 23rd, we had I believe the surprise release of Kirby Fighters 2 on Nintendo Switch.
Oh yeah.
Which I believe is a free-to-play game if you have Nintendo Switch online.
I think no. That's Super Kirby Clash, which came out last year.
Oh, that's what I'm confused with. Yeah.
Yep.
What's this one cost? Do you remember?
I think it's like it was like at most $20.
Was it that much? There's no way it was that much.
It was
was it
somewhere
called
between
again?
10 and 20.
I'm gonna
Kirby
look this up.
Fighters 2.
Kirby Fighters 2. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it might have been 20 because I
It
know
was.
some
You're right.
people,
It was $20. What the heck?
Because I know some people were turned off from getting it because of the price cost. But
Yeah, that seems excessive.
This is actually like pretty hefty in content. Honestly, there's a lot you can do, and it's.
Oh, you reviewed it, right?
Yeah, I did. This was one of the other first things I did with you guys with
Yeah.
a guest review basically, and I enjoyed this way more than I expected to. Honestly, I still know people that play this actively. I have friends that are big in like competitive Smash that, as breaks on competitive Smash, have gotten into a competitive scene for Kirby Fighters 2 where they have hundreds of hours put into this. And I did not think that would end up happening, but apparently it's garnered like a pretty big community for it. So this was a pretty good release, and evidently it's done pretty well. When the online works well, because there's definitely sometimes a massive slowdown, but that really
Like
just depends
Smash.
on. Yeah, that's like Smash. The online is like as good as Smash, if not better at times. It's actually pretty crazy.
I mean, the game in general feels like just a more simplistic Smash, basically, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, I actually did have fun with it. I think I live streamed it, and I remember enjoying it. It didn't pull me back, obviously, but I thought it was fun in the moment. And if you're like a big Kirby fan, I could see why it would be appealing. So,
I wish they did updates for it to add like more characters like Kirby Star Allies did with the Dream, like the Dream characters, or the Dream Friends, because it seems like it's running on the Star Allies engine. Like it feels like Star Allies. So I thought they would add more. I mean, they have Gooey and Magolor, so they clearly have a couple characters from that. So I was hoping they would add more Kirby characters over time, but
there's still time. There's still good.
There is still time. I'll be shocked if they do something new with it all of a sudden after like barely marketing it like 2 weeks later. But
yeah, that's true. Because we did get like the Luigi's Mansion DLC announcement came, I think, not too long after the game was released. If I remember, I could be misremembering, but I thought it wasn't too long after. So, but it could be just one of the things they shadow drop. Maybe they won't talk about it in advance. We also had news that Nintendo was being sued again for the Joy-Con drift in France.
What number is this? 4, 5?
At least. I mean, I don't know how much more there is to say about it, but it's just frustrating that's still an issue. Like how Nintendo still hasn't really properly addressed this. Doug Bowser was asked about this not too long ago. I don't know if we had that interview on here, but he kind of sidestepped it. He's like, oh, well, you send it in, you get problems with your Joy-Con. It's like, great, that doesn't fix future Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing to me, Nintendo, like, I would love to find out, like, what's going on behind the scenes with this. Like, why haven't they fixed it? Like, can they not fix it? Like, would fixing it admit there was a problem and expose them to further legal issues? Like, I don't know what's going on here. But the Joy-Cons are such, like, a brilliant idea. It sucks that they've been hampered by this. Like, this is really their version of the 360 red ringing. This is Nintendo's red ring of death, where it's just a matter of time before your Joy-Cons have this problem. Oh, I've got, like, I think, at least 2 sets of Joy-Cons. They all have this drifting issue, and it's so annoying. I'm just glad that doesn't really factor into Ring Fit Adventure, otherwise I'd be pissed.
I saw this video from a Twitter user, I forget who, but they're like, okay, here's my Wii U. This is the one Wii U Pro Controller I've used its entire life. Here's my Switch. Here's all the Joy-Cons I've gone through, and it was a ton. I haven't
like every Joy-Con.
Yeah, I haven't even. I'm just glad I haven't run into that problem that badly. Like my first pair of Joy-Cons are both drifting, The second pair, actually no. So I have 4 Joy-Cons total and 2 of them are, one from each pair are drifting. So it's like, yeah, it's really ridiculous.
I can't use my original pair that I got like with my Switch. Like I have the 2 grays. I could barely use them like because just on the main menu it just constantly moves around. I have the Odyssey red ones, which came out that same release year, and the right Joy-Con definitely drifts a bit, but it hasn't stopped me from playing things. But it definitely made me sit down and say, "Yep, I need to get new Joy-Cons soon."
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you should be able to send them in, though. I mean, to Nintendo's credit, at the least, you can send them in for repair for free, I believe. So you should probably do that rather than buying new Joy-Cons. So
they're expensive.
So we don't encourage it.
They are expensive. They are expensive.
They are $10 cheaper individually now, at least on the Nintendo Store. But yeah, this is something that should have had a better response sooner. Nintendo didn't even start offering the repairs until they were basically forced to. And Nintendo, as a company that's historically been known for like high quality like merchandise, like it kind of sucks to see that reputation take a hit. I mean, not for that reason. It just sucks that we can't rely on Nintendo now for making and properly addressing issues when they arise now. So yeah, I think it has Nintendoium. Is that how you say Nintendoium? Nintendoium. The supposed material Nintendo used to make their stuff out of. Seems like they're ran out. It's no longer a thing. So. All right, let's move on to let's move into October now. We're moving into October, in which we had was it really the first that we got the announcement reveal of Steve? Yep. Steve and the whole host of Minecraft characters coming to Smash.
Yep, it was October 1st, and then Sakurai had a small conversation about it, and then said the full presentation about them will be on October 3rd. So
that was wild.
That was wild.
I mean, obviously Steve had popped up before in like speculation or all kinds of rumors, to the point where who knew if it was ever based on anything or not, because Steve showed up anywhere. Even despite being possibly primed for it, seeing it actually happen was holy crap, this is real. Steve is actually here in Smash Brothers. It might be one of the most like WTF third-party inclusions I've seen yet. I don't know if I ever... I thought it was probably possible, but still just seeing it was a shock.
Yeah, and the trailer totally leaned into it too. Mario just getting knocked into a cave, and it's like, what's going on? I know it's gonna be Minecraft. Like as soon as you see there's blocks in the back, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even notice the blocks at first. It's easy to miss, but yeah, when Steve showed up, I'm like, the madmen actually did it.
Did it.
Yeah, and of course the response to this was very mature on the internet, so thank you for good job, internet, for being mature for once. Obviously I'm being sarcastic, that it's just like I didn't want Steve, but I also didn't not want Steve. I think his inclusion's super cool. It's really awesome. It just makes Smash more of a celebration of gaming than it is a celebration of just Nintendo.
Yeah. And Minecraft's huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like one of the best-selling games of all time. It's for over 10 years now. It's weird that it wasn't, and it would be weird if it wasn't at all even mentioned. So the fact that we got this makes a lot of sense.
It did, yeah.
The funny thing about Steve is that Steve was kind of a character we kind of would guess earlier on, like in the first wave of DLC, and we kind of stopped. And so when it
snuck it in, they surprised us, blindsided us.
I know, like when it happened, it's like they did it. You hear later that they were working on that or talking about it for about 5 years or something like that. So that's kind of probably why we had an inkling that it might happen earlier, and it's just neat to see it happen at the end. And it's not maybe the character necessarily we all wanted, but as Joey said, very cool to see. And a great implementation.
The rollout too was interesting, where it's basically spread among 3 different events or dates, where we had the initial trailer reveal on October 1st, then a couple days later we had the Sakurai Presents breakdown of Steve, and then of course it wasn't until I believe 10 days later, 10 days later, that we had the actual release for it. Which is very different than how they've rolled out like Sephiroth now, for instance. But I think Steve was definitely needing a breakdown. Steve is actually a pretty intricate, complicated character. Yeah. Definitely more involved than most. You actually craft things in game. You have to get materials, which is pretty wild. A little Olimar-esque, slightly, but taken to an extreme. And I think it was probably smart to let the reality of Steve being in Minecraft, Steve and Alex, settle in before like really breaking it down a couple days later. Because I think people would have just been like not even paying attention to the rest of the presentation, like still just freaking out either positively or negatively to Steve being in Smash. So
yeah, that breakdown was like 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I mean, it was so hilarious. Like looking back, like it didn't even look like Smash Brothers at points. Like what? This is Smash still? Like it looks like Minecraft. Or
when you've got Steve and Alex and Zombie or whoever, and it's just them on the Minecraft stage, it is literally just Minecraft.
It is straight up, not even Smash.
Yeah,
so funny. Also on the same day as Steve's announcement or reveal, we had Super Mario Bros. 35 officially released. We already touched about talked on that a fair amount, but yeah, fun game. Enjoy it. Sucks it's going away next year. Again, no more to say about that, I'm sure, in 2021 or 2021 discussion, which will also be in 2021. Then, toward a little later in the month, before Steve's actual release, we had a Nintendo Treehouse Live on October 7th, which involved showing off Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and it was paired with a game that wasn't Bakugan this time, being Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So yeah, they just played a fair amount of both games. I think they showed off a mission or two in Hyrule Warriors.
Yep.
And then Pikmin 3 Deluxe, they just showed off like a ton of that game. Like I think a full day early on. They showed the co-op mode. Like it was getting to the point where I was getting bored. I'm like, okay, this is Pikmin 3. We get it. It's not a whole lot of new stuff here. But it was cool that they showed off. I think they showed off the co-op mode, which ended up being a highlight of the game. And when the game came out, which I'll have more to discuss. Actually, we can talk about that now, I guess. But yeah, any other thoughts on this Treehouse Live?
I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, but man, did they show off way more of Hyrule Warriors than anyone was expecting. Because they showed off like the main menus. Like there was a lot to go through with that. So much so that I don't even think we got. I think I was trying to do an analysis for that, and then they just ended up making more content for it that they kept putting out that I just wasn't able to get too much out of it. There was so much.
There was a lot there. Yeah, it was a beefy Treehouse Live. So kind of cool. I mean, yeah, they had almost an hour, I think, dedicated to Age of Calamity before they even got to Pikmin, which
I think they did Pikmin first. I think they did Pikmin first.
Was Pikmin first?
Then,
oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I totally forgot. Well, then maybe it was Pikmin that felt like an hour. So before they got to Age of Calamity. Probably smart to do it that way then. Keep everyone hooked to Pikmin until we get to the new game. So. On October 16th, we had the release of Mario Kart Live, which. Sorry, I forget if I asked earlier. Has anyone here tried it themselves?
I have not.
I have.
Oh, you have? What do you think of it, Chris?
I didn't end up getting it until last month, I think, but it's awesome. It is so cool. The only issue for me is there are 2 TVs that I'm able to try it on in my house, but both of the rooms are carpeted. Oh. And one of them, the carpet is kind of textured, so it really doesn't work. It's super bumpy. And the other one, I thought the carpet would work because it's pretty thin, still doesn't work. Because when there's that bit of kind of rumbling or just vibration while you're driving, it can just throw off the AR, and it becomes pretty tough to make precise turns, which you kind of have to do when you're maneuvering through tight areas in your room.
Right.
But I can play it on the hardwood floor, which works great. The only problem is I can't connect it to a TV and have like other people watch and enjoy the novelty of it, which is kind of what's so fun about it. I'm just looking at the Switch screen, but no, it's really cool. For the most part, it accomplishes everything it sets out to accomplish, and that's really impressive. So,
nice.
That's awesome.
If you drive into a wall, how durable is it?
I haven't. I've driven into a couple walls, and I don't have any scratches or marks on the car, from what I can tell. So it's pretty durable.
If you drive it off the roof of a 12-story building, how durable is it?
That might get a little. Might be pushing the boundaries a bit there.
Are supposed to live through that. Come on.
A Nintendo 64 could survive a drop from the Empire State Building. Come on, Nintendo.
I don't think the Switch could now these days. Like I said, that era of Nintendo's long behind us now.
We just need to go back to cartridges, like seriously. I mean, like, but not. I mean, the Switch uses cartridges, but we need to go back to just nothing else but Nintendo 64 style hardware.
Yeah, the Mario Kart Live though is like I think it's a super cool game. Like I want to try it still myself. I think I'm sure myself will get annoyed having to set up a new track each time I want to play it. But it's a cool idea, and it's again fun to see Nintendo like going outside their usual boundaries now. Like this with this weird AR game. You know, it really does seem like they're exploring other opportunities for their properties, like whether it's in theme parks or Super Nintendo World. You know, hopefully other forms of media like movies and TV shows. Yeah, but I think we have the Mario movie coming up, which we still don't know a whole lot about. So hopefully we'll get a trailer for that soon. But yeah, it's just kind of fun to see Nintendo experiment.
I hope John Leguizamo plays Luigi in the movie.
Yes.
Full circle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we had a Nintendo Direct. Actually, wait, sorry. It put this a little bit out of order. On October 26th, we had a patch for 3D All Stars, which I believe this was a patch that added GameCube controller support along with camera options to make it play like the original games you wanted to. And not a whole lot to say here, but I'm glad they added this. I didn't think they would. I thought they'd just throw Mario 3D All Stars out there. Hey, we're done. We did our part. You know, it sold $1 billion. We're good. But no, here's a proper patch for it. Added a few features that probably should have been there from the beginning, including the GameCube patch. But I'm glad they added that because it was so weird to me that it wasn't there, because Mario Sunshine was on GameCube. The Switch supports a GameCube controller adapter because of Smash Brothers. Why not support it? And hey, here we go. Proper, fully functioning analog triggers. I love it. Thank you, Nintendo. Glad it was there. Made Mario Sunshine even more fun. So yeah, good update. And then just a couple days after that, we had the Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase. Now, I think our third one for the year already.
Yep.
Which had the announcement of Hyrule.
Fourth one.
Yep. Fourth partner showcase?
Yeah, it was July, August, September, October.
Wow, man, they've been busy. Jeez. So we got the announcement of the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity demo. We had the reveal of No More Heroes 1 and 2 on Switch, I think released that same day, along with other games like Part-Time UFO, which was developed by HAL Laboratories. I think even has like a cute little Kirby level or something in there.
That was a surprise, because they had Part-Time UFO as like a mobile app game, and this is just like a much better version of it from what I remember a long time ago playing it. Like, it was not like a recent game, it was a while ago.
Yeah, it works great on Switch though. It feels like a game that was developed for the Switch. Like I did a whole Game & Watch for it, and it wasn't until after that, I think, that someone told me that it was on mobile beforehand. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Because you don't play that and you're like, oh, this is a mobile game on Switch.
Right.
It works great.
I need to check it out still. Actually, I need to check out No More Heroes 1 and 2 as well. I never got around to playing those games much on Wii, so yeah. I've heard they're pretty good too, or pretty good ports, I should say. All right, October 30th, we had finally the release of Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Of course, still no sign of Pikmin 4. We'll maybe talk about that next year. But yeah, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, it's good. I liked it in my review. I wasn't the biggest fan of Pikmin 3 on the Wii U, just because I hated how they incorporated the gamepad, which felt unnecessary because you already had a map that worked fine before, but now you had to look at the gamepad to use it. And if you wanted the optimal controls in the game, being the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, then you had to awkwardly straddle, like, for me, because I didn't have a table in front of me, I had to put the gamepad in my lap, like, look down to see the map. If you had a table in front of you, you could prop it up on that with a stand. But I just find the Switch version way more elegant. I like having the map on the same screen. The controls, I will admit, aren't quite as good. The pointer controls work, but you have to recalibrate constantly, so they are a step back from the Wii U's pointer, from the Wii U's pointer in that sense. Otherwise, though, I prefer this version, and having co-op is kind of game-changing. Like, it kind of feels like the game was meant for co-op originally. You got 3 captains, which is almost overwhelming by yourself, but having another human player play as them constantly, it's like, wow, this makes sense. This is awesome. And, yeah, it's pretty fun, so I highly recommend it. Has anyone else played Pikmin 3 Deluxe, or...?
Just a demo, but I really want to play the full game now.
Yeah, same here.
All right, well, maybe you should. I wish I had online. That's the biggest downside. If it had online, that'd be so perfect, especially for the quarantine. I hope they won't patch it in, but I wish they would, because that would legitimately be...
We'll just have to wait for Pikmin 4. I heard it's almost done, so...
It's forever tomorrow.
It's going to be called Pikmin Forever, so there we go.
There we go.
Nice.
Perfect. Just like Duke Nukem Forever.
Exactly.
All right, let's move into, so in 10 years or something, we'll finally get a crappy version of it.
Can't wait.
November, we had, not a ton of stuff this month, but some fairly sizable things. November 13th, we had the release of the Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers, finally. I did a whole review of it. I liked it. I thought it was good. I think it's more of a novelty than anything, just because while Mario Brothers works fine on it, it's fun. It's kind of cool to have it with you at all times if you carry it with you. It's still just, 1, Mario Brothers again. We play that, a billion times now. And 2, probably not the best way to play it. You know, like the screen isn't the best. It's fine, but it's not super comfortable holding this tiny device for hours on end. But it works. It's cool. It's cute as a novelty. I like it, but I don't think you have to go out there and get it. It's more of a collector's item than anything, which, to be fair, is how it was largely presented. Did anyone else end up picking it up, or no?
No, I'm tempted to. Is that for a limited time also?
I'm sure that Mario's for a limited time now. He's gone on March 31st.
On April 1st, I'm going to open up my Switch and all the Mario games are going to be gone. Not just 3D All-Stars. Where's Odyssey? What's going on?
Exactly. Speaking of things going away, though, November 19th brought the news that the Big House Smash Brothers tournament was canceled, which started the backlash counter movement of being hashtag free Melee, which, God forbid, shows up in every freaking live stream now. I don't even care what you're streaming, just free Melee, you can count free Melee being there. And yeah, so that kind of started the start of what would be, I think, a few Nintendo controversies, although since then, like, other news has come out being like, maybe Nintendo wasn't that out of step with it, with some of the specifics of things. Not talking about the Big House in particular necessarily. But the reason this was canceled was because the Big House, because of the pandemic, was moving to an online format which involved emulating Smash Brothers Melee for, online tournaments, and Nintendo did not like that.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that was...
I don't know how much...
Just gonna say that was not a very fun news update. Sometimes it's just stories and it's like, dang.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But, yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, these are all complicated issues, which I don't think, a hashtag can fully encapsulate. Yeah. So, I mean, I still stand by what I said, like, hey, it'd be nice if Nintendo, we're more willing to work with, these groups in some way to find maybe a way that they can work around this, but, I mean, it's easy to say, it's another thing to implement. One thing to consider is I believe like Japan's like copyright laws are, I think, fairly strict, which is a factor when you're dealing with an international corporation. So I don't know. I think the issue's a lot more complicated than
it's really complicated. From having tried to look into it over the last like month since all this happened. It's really complicated, and there's definitely a lot we don't know, but it's become clear this whole thing is something that isn't just about it's not just about Smash Melee, even though people are tattooing free Melee on themselves. Like it's not just about Melee. It seems to be about Nintendo and its competitive scene in any of its games. This includes Splatoon, this includes ARMS, Mario Kart, any kind of game there's been any sort of attempt to make into a competitive scene. It seems there's been some sort of effort from Nintendo to basically stop it in its tracks.
Right.
And we don't really know the full extent of why. In some cases, it seems to be because they wanted to do something themselves, but then never did it. So it just comes across as them just stopping others. And it's very clearly a much more complicated, bigger issue than we really know, because we just don't know the full story, especially with it feels like with each week more and more comes out about it. But it's become a really big mess and a PR disaster for them, I think.
Yep. Yeah, it's an ongoing one, it seems. So yeah, I don't know how much more there is to really say about it, but so that will be it. So let's go ahead and move on to
the next day.
I guess it's the next day, where we got the release of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Finally out there for us to play and review. So no, you like this game, or I think you love this game, Chris, right?
I did, and we got a lot of people upset that it has a higher rating than your review of Breath of the Wild.
I mean, once again, it's all subjective. Different reviewers, different games. So, like, if I were to review Age of Calamity, it would definitely score lower than Breath of the Wild. So
yeah, and little do people know, Triss actually hates Breath of the Wild. So
Triss actually hates Zelda, only likes Warriors games.
Exactly.
I look back at these Koroks. Yeah, I have these here because I hate myself. No.
Fair enough.
No. I really do think that I'm really glad that now that Age of Calamity is out, a bunch of people have been giving it a chance, and I've seen a lot of people really come around on it. People that went into it not really expecting to love it, but expecting just to kind of have a fun time with it. ended up coming out of it with it being one of their favorite Zelda experiences. And as someone who, literally from my whole background being all Zelda stuff, I'm very clearly a major Zelda fan. And I loved this game, and I'm really happy that even people that have Breath of the Wild as their all-time favorite game are giving it a chance and also really liking it. So it's really great. And sure, I can look at it and say, well, I don't really dislike any Zelda game. There's like a couple here and there, but they're usually like some of the classic ones I don't feel as aged well. So you can look at me saying that and like, oh, but you would have liked this anyway. It's like, well, yes, but I still very clearly like certain things they did here that other Zelda games haven't done. So,
like having a in-depth story.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that's often overlooked by the games, especially Breath of the Wild. But yeah, this was kind of like Nintendo's like big holiday release.
It was, or it is rather.
yeah, still is. So it'll be interesting to see how those sales figures shape up when we get the next like investor report. So I'm sure it's probably pretty big. I'm sure it was very much buoyed by it being Breath of the Wild related, which is now massive and almost like its own self-contained Zelda. Well,
within the first week, I'm pretty sure Age of Calamity became like the best-selling Warriors title.
Oh yeah,
so
yep.
so
which is amazing.
So Breath of the Wild name, the Breath of the Wild name already did a lot.
Take that, Gundam Warriors.
Fingers crossed for Pikmin Warriors.
Fingers crossed,
one day.
please.
Now, just 10 days later, we had another big release in the form of the Switch version 11 of the operating system.
Yes.
Which added some actually pretty big features. We had a new home screen icon with the Nintendo Switch Online hub, basically, which you can go there. It gives you... It's a little weird because it offers this redundant access to things you can always access in other ways, but I guess it's a one-stop shop to quickly find all these features, like access to your cloud saves or to see what's been backed up. You can access all the NES and Super NES games available from this one screen, which is nice, even if when you leave a game, you get booted back to the main menu of the app rather than the Nintendo Switch Online hub.
Right.
And then there's a few other things in there. You can see like what your subscription is. It kind of seems more like of a shameless way of advertising Nintendo Switch Online. It's like, hey, if you don't have it, you should pay for it. Here's all the things you get.
Yep.
I suspected that they'd probably have bigger plans for it, and we'll probably discuss this more in our 2021 discussion. I think there's more to it that's coming. But beyond the app, we also got other useful features like all your save data automatically being linked across consoles. So now if you have multiple Switches and you have the same account on each of them, you can have all your save files updated at the same time.
Nice.
Which is really useful if you have, again, multiple, if you have kids playing on their own device, you can share the same saves, which is good. You can now use your phone. You can transfer media to your phone or your computer. You can back it up that way using either an SD card, I believe, or you can use QR codes to scan media to your phone, which is still a little cumbersome. You have to scan the QR code twice. But hey, it works. I've used it myself to tweet images now rather than just taking a picture of the phone because tweeting from the in-game keyboard is really annoying. You can now prioritize downloads on the Switch. So you have multiple downloads at a time. You can choose which one to download first, which is nice. They added some new icons, of course. And they added a Trending with Friends feature, oddly, which kind of feels like another marketing thing, where you can see what games your friends are playing and, among your friend group, which I guess is kind of cool, but it still feels like, hey, you should consider buying this. Especially because I hate that I still hate how they handle the whole friend interface in general, where it's like all hidden on your profile page, and it ends up feeling like options. I never remember to go there to do anything, but there isn't really a whole lot to do anyway there. Anyways, that's the update. Overall, good update, I'd say.
Yeah, it was. We talked about it for like 30 minutes, so
yeah, we did.
There's a
lot
lot
of discussion.
There's a lot there.
Any other thoughts from anyone else who's experienced it who wasn't on the discussion?
The phone update is really neat, but it's really... I wish it was easier to transfer images to your phone. That's what it... Like, it's a lot handier for thumbnails for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm. There are still... Sorry, I was just going to say there's still things I would like to see from future updates that weren't in this update, but all the things they did add are nice.
Oh yeah, there'll always be more that they can add. We'll never get those themes. I'm starting to feel like themes are never coming.
No, they probably aren't. But I was gonna say I completely agree with you about the Switch Online. Feels like they added it to get ready for something with it later on, but who knows?
All right. Well, let's move into December, where I guess starting off, I thought this might be a good time just to look back at Animal Crossing real quick. I know I did cover it pretty early on, but Toy Day is happening soon. It's happened by the time you're watching this. We haven't experienced it for ourselves yet. But yeah, there's been all kinds of holidays. We had like Turkey Day and Halloween, and I did partake, even though I have largely dropped Animal Crossing, I did partake in those events, and I thought they were mostly incorporated pretty well. After the disaster that was Easter month or Bunny month or whatever it was, I thought
Bunny Day.
Yeah, the ever ongoing Bunny Day. I thought they figured out something better for the rest of the holidays. I thought they were cute. I enjoyed them. Fun streaming them, and even though they didn't pull me back into the game permanently, I enjoyed them in the moment. So, any other thoughts on Animal Crossing or?
Yeah, I've really been enjoying the monthly events. Like, I really enjoyed what they did for Halloween and making sure to go in every day to buy candy to give out to villagers and such. It's been really cute, honestly.
It has.
All the updates have been really good at like making me care more about the villagers that I have on my island, and it's just such a good feel good game, and they keep doing that with all their updates, so it's nice.
It is nice. Yep. Yeah, it's always. I mean, I've always enjoyed Animal Crossing for kind of the real world aspect, like how it kind of ties in with, not just the real time aspect, but also that you're getting these real world holidays in the game, which they strayed from for a little while, but they're kind of back to it now, which is nice. And yeah, always fun to see that. But speaking of holiday crossovers, on December 2nd, we had a new track added to Mario Kart Live, which is a little bit different from the others.
Tour.
Sorry, Mario Kart Tour. Yeah.
Yep.
I blame whoever wrote that. That might have been me. Yeah, it's same 4-letter words. Anyway, I can think of another 4-letter word to apply to some of these games. Anyways, they added a holiday track, which is the first track that wasn't based on a real-world location in Mario Kart Tour, a new track rather. And yeah, I actually played it. I did a video on it. It's fun. It's cool. It was cute. You have like all these presents stacked together. You go through like a cute little holiday town, and I hope we see more of that actually. Added to the game. So it'd be cool. We get like a Halloween track that's not based on anything in real life necessarily.
Yeah, I definitely hope if anything from Mario Kart Tour gets used for future games, I hope if they bring back any new tracks from it as retro courses for future ones, I hope this holiday one is one, because it's not based on a real place. They put a lot of like love and charm into this one to make it feel festive and themed in a nice way that actually works nicely with other Mario Kart tracks.
What
this should show up in Mario Kart 9.
Would you say if it could make a top 10 winter levels video feature that it would make it in, Chris?
It probably wouldn't fit into that. I have a different Mario Kart course on there that I prefer for it, but this one's a little on the nose for that.
True. Yeah, I was gonna say this track is. I really like the track because we don't have a whole lot of Mario Kart tracks. We have a lot of winter or snow themed Mario Kart tracks, but we don't have any, I don't think, that like take you through a winter themed town sort of in the way that this one does. A lot of them are themed around like ski slopes or like that sort of thing, and so this is a nice charming track in that regard, and I think it would look even better on a mainline console Mario Kart game.
All right, let's move on to December 10th, where we had the reveal of Sephiroth coming to Smash Brothers as part of his trailer in the Game Awards. This was a shock.
Yeah.
This was a big surprise to me, at least. Never expected Sephiroth to be added to the game, particularly since we already have a representation of Final Fantasy here being Cloud. And I know this got a lot of people, and some people were disappointed, but I know a lot of people were excited too. Especially because Sephiroth is, of course, a villain, of which Smash Brothers has been a bit lacking on. And then Sephiroth was, of course, eventually released on December 17th by way of the Sephiroth Challenge, which was a weird way to release this character.
Super weird.
Because, they were presenting the 22nd as being the official release date, and this as being like a sneak peek type thing. But no, you just have the character. You can do pretty much everything with the character, minus access to the spirits and like Cloud's new Final Smash. But very odd. Anyways,
I totally did that challenge on easy just to unlock him right away. Like
I did.
It was so
I did that because of stream, but I did go back and try the other difficulties. Because the stream was just like, just do it on easy. We want to see it. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, weird reveal, but yeah, I mean, cool. Like the reveal itself was awesome. Like the way they pulled it off the Game Awards, Yeah, it was just a neat trailer, especially with how they brought in all the other third-party characters. Seeing Banjo-Kazooie reacting to it is great. I love seeing that. So yeah, fun trailer, interesting character, even if I'm not personally experienced much with Sephiroth, that I haven't played either Final Fantasy yet at this point. But maybe I need to. Maybe I need to pick up the remake now that I have a platform that can play it, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was just a memory, so they wouldn't bring him back. No. But he's definitely a memorable villain, but it just kind of shows where Smash can always throw a curveball where the unexpected happens. So always stay on your toes.
Yep. Poor Gino. New costume confirmed. All right, a couple days before Sephiroth's release date, though, we had the Indie World, another Indie World showcase, where we had the reveal of Among Us on Switch.
And release.
Release, yeah, same day, like within the hour, I think. That was awesome. I had never played it before. This is finally our chance. We did a live stream for it. I had a blast. That was a ton of fun. Really enjoyed that. We need to do another, but that was so freaking fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we can find time next week or something, because that was too good to not revisit. Also showed off games like Spelunky 1 and 2 and Cyber Shadow. So all in all, I'd say that was a pretty successful Indie World. Again, it might be one of those that gets even better in hindsight, but Among Us was big. Was not expecting it here, and it was awesome to be able to play it immediately.
But where is Silk Song?
No, Joey. No. There was Super Meat Boy Forever 2, which is December 23rd release date. I have no idea when this video is coming up, so maybe Super Meat Boy Forever will be out already.
Yeah, it actually should be. So that is another kind of highlight.
I always thought that game was out, and I feel like it's never out.
It kind of feels that way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up the end of the year with a couple of Miyamoto-focused stories, actually.
Yep.
So first of all, we had one more direct. It feels like for a year without no primary directs. We sure had a lot of smaller, weird variant directs. We had a Super Nintendo World Direct, a direct for a theme park land, in which Miyamoto took us on a personal tour of the entrance as you go through a warp pipe into Peach's castle. He showed off some areas of the land, some of the interactive spots where you can fight enemies to gather keys, it seems, in which you can eventually battle Bowser Jr. And yeah, it was just really fun to see Miyamoto have a smile on his face, which is, for one, it was nice to see Miyamoto again. It feels like forever since we've seen Miyamoto. But he took us on a tour. It must have been something for him to see this, creation now of his that's 35 years old, 35 plus years old even. Being brought to life at just this theme park scale, which is amazing to see. Fun for me to see as a Mario fan, especially, and a theme park fan. I've been wanting to go here forever. It sucks that I can't for a few months at the least because of the pandemic. But yeah, it was just a fun little video. But interestingly, they didn't even focus on the rides at all. The rides seem to be an afterthought in this video. It seems like they're holding on to those for later, maybe for us to experience in person. But even the parts that they did show off, like the merchandise, the food. I know, Joey, you're big on that.
Oh, yes.
I am too, especially now that I'm pretty hungry.
Me too.
But yeah, all the details of the land, it just looks amazing. I have to go here. We had a whole discussion, a live reaction to this, but man, the more I see, the more I want to go. So
it was just so charming. I know when you have Super Nintendo World Direct, the whole thing was how are they gonna present this, but I love that this was basically just Miyamoto running around having a good time, gushing about this land for his creations.
Yeah,
and
he's totally
I don't think
just in his element. It's awesome.
There was no better way to handle this. This was such a delight to watch.
Yes.
I just couldn't stop smiling throughout this entire thing.
Oh man, I couldn't wait to go there right away. It makes me miss. Of course, I just miss Universal Studios in general. But it's this made me miss it even more. It looks so good, and I can't wait for it to come out in Hollywood. I'll probably still try and go out to Japan if I can to see it there first, but we shall see about that.
Yeah, and we actually, speaking of that, we got the official release date too, being February 4th now in Japan. So
yeah, so you guys are all kind of excited to go, but the last theme park I went to was Universal Studios in Japan, and Harry Potter was kind of old at that point, but that was still super packed. So that's still in my memory a bit.
Yeah.
Trying to navigate through there, which is lucky because I'm a little bit taller, but it's going to be, that's a smaller section of park. That's going to be a crazy zoo in there.
Totally.
Can't wait.
The pipe going in, there's only one way in and one way out, and it's that narrow pipe, just walking through.
I have a feeling they're going to have they're going to have little fencing for that, like in the middle, like
not. It's actually, I actually don't think that's quite the case, because I actually was planning to do an analysis, but then the app came out, so I did a tour of the app, which kind of replaced the analysis. If you look at the scene of Miyamoto outside the castle, you can actually see an exit sign that points to an area that takes you behind the castle, and I think there's a path that's actually adjacent to the warp pipe. So I don't know I don't know. So I don't know if it's a separate warp pipe. I'm guessing not. I think there's a path adjacent to the warp pipes. They end up coming out behind the blocks next to the warp pipe by the entrance. So there's my analysis, real-time analysis right there.
That's the analysis. You're welcome.
All right, so that's gonna be awesome for 2021. That's a cool way to kind of open the year, at least if you live in Japan or have a way of getting to Super Nintendo World. Sucks less so if you can't, but hopefully I'll visit at some time next year.
It's a good thing I live on a remote island off the coast of Japan. So
exactly, take a rowboat over there. You can't stop me. All right, there's one more Miyamoto part to talk about that came out just shortly after, really, the Super Nintendo World Direct. I think it was after, or like right around the same time. Chris, you covered this. There was like a really in-depth interview with Miyamoto at, I forget what outlet it was, but do you want to give us like a quick rundown on what all was covered here? Because it kind of felt like almost like an overall life look at Miyamoto.
No, totally. It's strange because it's not about any game or event or anything in particular. Like you'd think it'd sort of maybe be about Super Nintendo World, and he touches on it, but it totally is just all of these random questions about Miyamoto and his life and his story and his outlook on life and everything. And there's a lot of really cool stuff there. Just like for a few examples, like a few tidbits, I did a news update where I just kind of go through some of the highlights, but there's even more than what I talked about. Like he mentioned how when his kids were growing up, they often played Sega games, and the person who was interviewing him asked if that ever made him jealous, and he said not jealous, but it just inspired him to try harder so that his kids would enjoy his games, which was just so interesting to hear about. It's like, wow, yeah, how would that feel if your kids were playing the games with your competitor? Like, but it's cool. His outlook on that was very, it's very positive and open-minded and everything, which is so Miyamoto. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff there for sure. And you just don't get to hear about those sorts of things that often from people like him. So it's really cool. He also talked about like how people compare him to Walt Disney sometimes, and what he kind of thinks about that. And that was interesting to learn about too. It's like, yeah. So that was a really cool interview.
I like the part where he was asked, like, what sort of boss are you? And he's like, you mean like a video game boss? It's like, no,
yeah, that was
boss. Saying how he could be very positive about the overall idea, but then very kind of scrutinizing or maybe come off as negative towards little fixes. And also how he gets re-energized on the weekend but starts thinking of ideas and sends emails out, and maybe the employees don't appreciate that too much, but still seems like he really loves what he does, even to this day, and has new projects and challenges to do, like this theme park that he keeps looking forward to.
Yeah, and he also talked about how he's talked a lot in interviews about how much he appreciates and enjoys working with younger developers at Nintendo and kind of what they bring to the table. But this was the first time that he actually, I don't know for sure, but this was one of the first times I'd seen him talk openly about the idea of passing Nintendo on and, leaving it in years to come. And he just said that his specific wording was he's not concerned anymore about passing on Nintendo to someone else or to another group, and keeping the spirit of what makes it great. And that was really cool to hear too.
Yeah, I mean, Miyamoto has, over the years, stepped away from like the kind of day-to-day game development, taking on more of an oversight role or exploring more of Nintendo's other projects. So I'm glad that he's comfortable with where Nintendo's at.
Yeah.
And we've started seeing like kind of the fruits of like the younger generation's labor. I think with like both Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, like consisting of younger staff. And that's partially where we're seeing like these new ideas coming from. Like, yeah, how do we reinvent Zelda while still keeping it a Zelda game? And that's Breath of the Wild. So yeah, really interesting interview. It was nice to see like how candid Miyamoto seemed to be. Again, it was nice to hear from Miyamoto, get his perspective. It's fun he's able to explore maybe some more different ideas related to video games that aren't strictly video games in the as we near probably what is the end of his career. I assume whenever he may leave Nintendo, Like, it seems like he'll be living at a good time. Like, Nintendo right now riding a super high, seemingly not coming to an end anytime soon. With the Switch being red hot as we're in its 4th year now. Wild. So, yeah. Really interesting interview.
When he retires, I'm going to breathe, like, a sigh of relief for him. Because, like, that guy, I'm sure he doesn't get tired, but I'm just like, you've earned your rest.
Yep.
He could be like Miyazaki and retire and then get bored and come back when he's gone.
Right.
Exactly.
Gonna make the Super Nintendo World 64 now.
Oh man.
So I'm just interested to see what else we may see come as a result of Miyamoto's more recent efforts. He also mentioned mobile games, which I'm like, oh man, don't waste your time on those, Miyamoto. Focus on something else. But yeah, I'm really curious to see like the Mario movie, which is something we'll probably be discussing more perhaps in our 2021 discussion. So I guess with that, we're pretty much at the end of our discussion. So real quick, these went on way longer than I expected. Apparently we had a lot to talk about 2020.
Yeah.
What did you guys, if you were to give a letter grade to Nintendo in 2020, what would you give it? Grade school, letter grade. What are we talking here? Chris, let's start off with you, since you're basically you're in school even. What is it?
B.
Okay. All right. Any thoughts on the overall? I know we talked about it at the beginning of our part 1 discussion, but any like final summary?
Well,
like looking back now.
I mean, not really. I think regarding the B, I could have gone like a C. Like, no, first half of the year they didn't talk anything. They weren't communicating, whatever. I could have said something like that, but in the end, like, this was a really unpredictable year, and I'm sure they did everything they could to deal with it. So B.
Okay. How about you, Joey?
C+. Like, there were some good surprises mixed in there, some really good games mixed in there too for the Switch, but it still felt lacking, and it was partly due to the pandemic, of course. Like, who's to say what would have changed? If we got Bowser's Fury this year, maybe it would have been an A+, but no, it's a C+ for me.
Tom?
I'm gonna go B-. I thought, they did release a bunch of stuff, but some of it was more ports or, kind of remaster in quotes. And, overall a bit slow at the pandemic response, so was everyone, and I think they did decently on that.
Okay. And how about you, Tris?
I'm also I'm gonna agree with Chris on the B, because I think most of the shortcomings really were because of like the pandemic and needing to adjust to that. I do think if it was a normal year and things weren't moved around, it might have been higher. But I think given all the circumstances, they managed to still do a pretty decent job with what they had to work with this year. So that's why
I'm pretty decent job. Continue.
But
Bye, Tom.
But I do think that it was on the more positive side. So it's leaning into the good side. Could definitely have been better, but it wasn't like super lackluster. Maybe that's just because I was a bigger fan of majority of the stuff they released this year. But I think they managed to, after taking some time to basically deliberate and figure out their plans, I think they definitely came up with something that worked for what this year became. And they managed to have a steady outlook on content where you never really sat there and said, you never legitimately sat there and said, Nintendo's doomed. They don't have anything.
Oh, there's always people saying that.
No, there's always people
doomed.
saying that. But you never had someone legitimately worried about that this year, I think. After April, at least.
Oh, speaking of doomed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody forgot to put that on the list. Yeah, but Doom Eternal came out on Switch. It was really good. You should play it.
Good summary. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you liked it a lot, I think, officially.
Yes,
right?
I did.
Review.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, the port and the game itself.
I think for my overall review, I think I would agree with Joe. I'd give it a C+. Like, this was a very weird year for obviously everyone. Mm-hmm. I think it could be argued that Nintendo could probably have been better prepared to deal with, like a work from home scenario, and they clearly weren't. But in spite of that, it actually wasn't a horrible year. They had a fairly regular stream of news, especially as we closed in on the latter half of the year. There was a gap, there was a sizable gap in there where it seemed like not a whole lot was happening. But they had some good announcements, such including, as I said earlier, Pokemon Snap. Like, I'm excited for that in 2021. But some surprise game reveals even this year. Paper Mario: The Origami King, which was good. The Mario 35th Anniversary Collection, even if that had been rumored by that point. But for as lackluster as it may have been, I also ended up enjoying it a lot. So it's hard to be upset with that. And then, of course, we had Hyrule Warriors, which it wasn't quite my cup of tea. So in that sense, Core 4 might have been a bit of a letdown. There wasn't like a big temple title to appeal to me outside of the Mario 35th, which again was just old games. But we had Pikmin 3 Deluxe around this time frame as well, which again, a remake or remaster, if you want to call it that, even more of a port than anything. But I enjoyed it all the same. So yeah, interesting year. And of course, I can't understate Animal Crossing's impact. Like, even though I tapered off of it, it also gave me some of my favorite moments of this year, and I wouldn't trade those in for the world. So. Yeah, and thank God it was this year, because that really came at the right time. Had it not been for Animal Crossing, I think my perspective on this year would be a little bit different, probably more negative, but it really was a perfect game at the perfect time, and I think that was the case for a lot of people. So yeah, I think I get Nintendo with C+. I think they weathered the storm pretty well, all things considered. I think it could have been better, but given the fact that no one expected this to happen, I think it turned out pretty well, and they managed to cope with their existing plans, again, decently. Like Mario 35th, I'm sure they had more ambitious plans for originally, but it ended up working out pretty well. So, with that being said, we are now...
I just remember one other thing, like Joey with Doom. Nintendo had... There was that moment in time where work from home gave people inspiration, and they made that jump rope challenge, that free game.
True.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't talk...
Right.
I completely
that was on our
forgot
list.
about that. I just remembered it.
I actually looked that up earlier. That was in June. I forgot. Yeah, I was gonna add that. So.
Yeah, and then originally it was gonna go away like before the end of this year, but then they decided no, actually, you know what? Because everyone that had like an outcry about no, you know what? We're gonna keep it around for longer, and that was also really neat because that was such an experimental thing, but it was nice.
It was just a fun little project put together by developers in their off time, it seems. And I don't know why they were going to pull it originally. I don't know what the motive was for that. It's not like an ongoing online service or anything.
No.
But yeah, that's cool. Like, hey, that's a neat little thing. That was kind of fun to see Nintendo, like, embrace the situation as it may be and do something different. And that was cool. I know, Tom, you actually did a whole video for us with you, like, showing it off.
Yeah, and they added in the double jump with the update. So I like the double.
That's right. Have you incorporated that into your Ring Fit routine at all, Tom?
Sometimes I add it in as a nice way to warm up beforehand.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty smart, actually. So, anyways, with that now, that officially brings 2020 to a close as we look back on the year. And now this is where we begin to look forward to 2021. So stay tuned for our in-depth discussions on everything we know and everything we don't know about 2021. Should be a lot of fun as we give our expectations, predictions, and all that as we move into the new year. Should be fun, I think. So thank you for watching as always. As we leave the clearly hellscape that was 2020. There we go. Look at the hellscape that was 2020, and hopefully into a more optimistic 2021. I myself am looking forward to leaving this year behind and seeing what awaits us in the future. As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider clicking that subscribe button and ringing that bell so you don't miss all of our content coming up in the new year, including those predictions discussions. With that, we'll catch you later. Catch you next year. Bye, everyone.